My name is Hamoud your bud, and today we are uploading a new Roblox video. So today I'm gonna be talking about the strongest weapons in the catalog heaven, or if you want to be more specific, in Roblox. But we would prefer heaven because there more stuff. Number one is the Vampire Knight Sword, or let me check it. The first is Bat Sword. This thing is very strong because you have the Bat Dash, which is actually a good thing. You could actually move fast, but uncontrollable. So, yeah. Next is the Bat Transformation. That is actually a very good thing. I'm gonna show you in a minute. Let me get there. So, this thing is very amazing and very strong, and not a lot of people know about this thing. So, when you hit somebody, like one time, they would just get picked up by the many bats you have. And that's all. But the transformation, here we go. We're gonna test it on some players right now. We got the big dash, that does some cool effect. And then the bat transformation, which is actually very good. I'm gonna control this guy. See? It's very sneaky. And yeah, so, whoops. Whoa, he pulled me right there. Okay. Next is the Telemonster. I don't know how to say it. Hold on, how to say it. Telemonster, the Chaos Edge. This thing is overused, and nobody knows it. So they would, most people would find this thing, Dragon. They'll find something like the Dragon's Blaze Dagger or Blaze Sword because it looks very much like it. You see, there's some difference. Now when you look up close to it, you see. And it's very strong. So it got this thing called the Unwid. It doesn't do so much things, but it just changes light for a second. And one of the most strongest thing about this thing, it's so strong that it literally throws me off. Oops, I gotta throw myself now. So it's very OP. I'll show you what it can do. So it could actually do a knockback that's very strong, and people that are actually close to you would burn. It gives you the heat, and this is what it does. Look, it has a very strong knockback, and it's very strong. And next is the Darkness Age Sword. Dark Nightmare. I gotta see it. It's called the Nightmare the Dragon Slayer. Now, please do not tell people that I actually gave you this or told you about this, because this thing is very strong, overpowered. It could summon a literal black hole. It's like the black hole gun if it was topped up. So, when it hits somebody normally with a sword, it will turn them into a black skeleton that can do multiple damage. And this is what it can do. So, it took a little bit of a charge up and down. But this thing is very OP. There's the Azure version, which I don't know what about it, but we'll see. So that's what this Nightmare Dragon Slate is. It's kind of awesome. Next is this thing, the Skeleton Army Scythe. You see? Yep, the Skeleton Scythe, or the Skeleton Army here. So this thing is also, it's not super strong, overpowered, but it's actually a pretty good weapon to use. It could chop your enemies and make them still alive, but it would make it harder for them. So if you control your friends with this thing a lot. There's another cool ability to do. You could also spam it, and your skeletons won't stop. So let me show you. It does this. Now, you would normally hear the bell, but I just don't want to put music and sounds because there will be a lot of people putting them. So, there will be skeletons, but I can't spawn it because I'm very high. Next it's called what's it called? It's called Subspace, the Subspace Chip Mine. This thing is very, questionable. People don't know it. Sometimes people see it and think it's a square that people will just spawn, but it's actually something you wouldn't actually expect. This thing is a nuke. Oof! Okay, so it's very strong, and it could actually destroy anything that you technically just want. You could use this, and it will be invisible for a little while, and it appears a little second, and then it disappears. Next is the Dark Card. It's like the Ice Dagger, but except longer and easier to use. So this thing will fling all of your enemies, and when you kill them, your body goes like just disappear. And that's all about the sword. It's just a normal sword reskinned with more power. Next is this thing. It's called the Frost Staff. The Staff of Never-Ending Frost. Well, yes, it ends, but you know, I'm not trying to be a boomer, but you know. So next is the Ice Shield. This is what makes this thing strong. Now, this normal attack is weak, but this attack is overpowered, okay? It's very huge, and it's very, like, it could do so much damage. When I mean so much damage, I mean this attack. Ooh, this is actually very bright. It would technically just freeze this, the player. Yes, that's kind of crazy, you know. So, next thing is Invisible Cape. The Invisible Cape is something very cool. It makes you faster. Look, now I'm moving slower. This. I'm a little faster, which is actually helpful. So when you're invisible, you could actually use this to attack your enemies from nowhere, you know. But it does not last forever. Next is the the Cartius Persitron Gamma. This thing is not a sword. Well, it is a sword, but it's like the cannon version, where you shoot instead of like cutting and all that. So this is what it does. You can do this. It shoots a laser, but it's not very accurate. So yeah, it's not the best. It's a sword / cannon. Next, this thing is actually very overused due to this ability it does. This is the deflect barrier. This thing is overpowered. It deflects anything, and when people are very close to you, you could, like, if there's something next to them that could actually kill them, you could just throw all of the enemies that are close to you, and they would die. So yeah. Next weapon is the Sword of Light. Now, this thing is like the Sword of Darkness, except more swaggy, okay? More like cool. So it looks like a sai. If you don't know it's a sai, just search it up. And it's very glowy and shiny. So it could do this time change. Whenever it's actually nighttime, it could change the time and make it light. You could scare your enemies by using this, or any player. You could scare them unless you know what this thing does, because it doesn't do. It's just a sword, okay? But another thing that's actually what makes it strong is called its light travel. It makes you turn into an orb, and you could teleport to your enemies if there are any players nearby, or like a little far. And yeah, that's all. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode.